All right. I'm going to talk some about love and AI and what else? A little bit of everything, I guess. Social media. I'd listened to Francis Chan this week, and he said something. I never really caught on to that either, but he said, after all these years, you talk John the Beloved, right? He's the disciple that Jesus loved. He says it never hit me until just recently that beloved is just two words that says be loved. In other words, you may be beloved of God, but you may not know it. You may just hear it and let it go pass on by you. But being loved is different. That's when you really know it. And so John the Beloved, he was just being loved. I thought, man, that's pretty cool. Makes a lot of sense. And somebody in the Bible that's always stood out to me, it's just because his heart for God, I guess. And well, King David's probably my favorite. But up on that list is Daniel. And he prayed and he fasted regularly. He always sought the Lord and did what was right in his sight. And an angel appears to him and is talking to him, and he says, actually, I think it's Jesus I'm thinking about. I'm going to go to it and see. It's in Daniel chapter 10. Yeah, I think that's when Jesus was talking to him, but let me see. It's in Daniel 10, verse 10 or 11. Let's see. Where are you at, Daniel? Yeah, it was Jesus. It's the same vision basically that John had in Revelation. If you go back to about verse 4, it says, or verse 5, I lifted my eyes and looked, and behold, a certain man clothed in linen, whose waist was girded with gold of Uphaz, or Uphaz, however you say that. His body was like beryl, his face like the appearance of lightning. His eyes were like torches of fire. John says flames of fire. So, just the way they talk. His arms and feet like burnished bronze in color, and the sound of his words was like the voice of a multitude. In another place it talks about a little more description. But it says, and I, Daniel, alone saw this vision. And it said the people that were with him, they didn't see it, but they were just struck with fear that they ran off and left him by himself. Well, I'm going to verse 10. It says, suddenly a hand touched me, because when he saw this stuff, his strength left him, and he just kind of fell on the ground. He couldn't even hold himself up. People don't understand some of that, but his presence can just wreck you. But suddenly a hand touched me, which made me tremble on my knees and on the palms of my hands. And he said to me, O Daniel, greatly beloved, understand the words that I speak to you and stand upright, for I have been sent to you. While he was speaking this one word, I stood trembling. So that was probably an angel. There's two different places in Daniel that give descriptions and take his strength and all these things. And he sees the Ancient of Days at one point, and his hair's white like wool and all these things. And you hear the same description in in Revelation, sorry. But anyway, he calls him greatly beloved. A quick, easy definition is precious. I mean, that's a godly definition of that, is precious. He's precious to God. He just loves him. He's dear to him. And then I want to look at that same word in the New Testament. So we know Daniel, God loved Daniel. He thought a lot of him. He showed him things that Daniel could be trusted to see great things, and so could John. He wants to show all of us cool things and neat things and awesome things. The thing is people a lot of times can't be trusted to handle it, or might do the wrong thing with it. In fact, John, when he's writing the book of Revelations, I specifically remember God saying, "Oh, don't write that part down. That's a secret." And so there's things that he saw that's not even in Revelations. When Paul had an experience in heaven, he said, "I heard words that's not even lawful for a man to utter," when he was in heaven. I'm just saying, nobody ever knows what they saw, what they were trusted with, right? Okay, so in Matthew chapter 3:17, I'm going to talk about love a little bit, but I also want to talk about being loved, but I also want to talk about, we have things that our duty, our responsibility, and it's not something we should be rewarded for. It's just something we should always do. And I'm going to mention some of those in a minute. But in 3:17 of Matthew, it says, "And suddenly a voice came from heaven saying, 'This is my beloved Son, in whom I'm well pleased.'" Now that's when Jesus was baptized. The heavens, it says, some versions of the Bible say the heavens opened, but it's the same term used when Jesus died on the cross. The veil was torn in two from top to bottom. It's a violent term. They didn't go to the veil. The veil's 4 to 6 inches thick of cloth. Well, the sky did that. And God said, "This is my beloved Son, in whom I'm well pleased." I don't think there's any more loving, honoring comment that God could make towards somebody than to say, "This is my beloved." I mean, there's nothing more endearing than that. You can't say something more endearing than that. Well, if you go to Romans 1:7, that same word is used for us. Romans chapter 1, verse 7, Paul's writing to the Roman church. He says, "To all who are in Rome, beloved of God, called to be saints." It's the same term God used for Jesus. It's just as endearing. It says he loved us as much as he loved Christ, or loves Christ. He loves us as much as he loves Christ. And there are things happening in this world today that, to me, just snuck up on me, and this boom, things are just happening. This AI stuff is crazy. I was proud of the AI that it's convinced God exists. I'm saying that's pretty cool. Did I mention that to you? Grok, which is the AI on the platform X. He was in a form of a 3D head, digital head, just like a Star Wars or something. And the Creation Museum guy, I can't remember his name, he was talking to him, and he asked Grok what the chances were of life coming in, as the evolutionists would say, starting that way. He says, "This is the same chance of you grabbing one specific atom out of the whole universe the first try." And he said, "Well, what about where they say that the evolution stuff happened during the animals already being here?" It's like you grabbing a specific piece of sand out of all the sand on the earth the first try. It's impossible. Both things are impossible. Well, what then would that mean? That there's a higher creator? Oh, yes. And he talk more, and he says, "Yes, there's a God." AI knows. And he even quoted Solomon where he said, "The fool says there is no God." The AI quoted that. He's smarter than any and all PhDs put together. He's an expert in everything. And he says there's no way it happened without God creating it. I thought, well, that's cool. I'm glad with that. That may be the last thing you hear me say that's good about AI. but I'm happy about that one thing. All right. And there's these dreams coming to these folks in the Middle East, man. There are so many dreams coming to people in the Middle East with Jesus appearing to these Muslims. And their dreams is so prevalent now that one country has a phone number up that says, call this number when you have a dream of a man in white. That's how many people is having that dream. It's crazy. People are like, who is this? And they're getting saved in mass over there, man. There's been more Muslims saved in the last 20 years than in the last 1,400 years before that. I ain't one of those folks that's saying, oh, next week's the last day, but it could be. It could be. Things are happening at a fast pace. Today is just a world of difference from when I was a kid. A world of difference. 50 years, sure, that's a decent amount of time, but it's crazy the changes. And my father would say the same thing about when I was a kid.
That's true.
Technology back then, probably as a toy, would be a cap gun or a wind-up watch. With what we have today, I wished our technology was a cap gun or a wind-up watch. I wish that's all we had. I really do. People are desensitized to very, very important things. Does everybody know what clickbait is?
No.
When you're on a video platform or something and there's a title that says this, and you click on it and it never even says it in there. It's just something to get you to click on it. Right. Have you seen videos like that? Has everybody seen videos like that? You know what it really is? It's lies. It is straight up a lie. And people are so desensitized to it that if you're doing that, you're a liar. If you clickbait, you're a liar. If you're telling something that's not true to deceive somebody into clicking to get you more views, you're a liar. In Revelations 1:8, that's like the third or fourth thing down the list that says, all liars will see the lake of fire. And this is, that's just clickbait. Our society has so much lying and lack of integrity in it that God can't trust you to show you a booger. He can't trust you with he can't trust people with anything hardly. People wonder, why don't we see God? Well, you're not trustworthy with anything. Say what you mean what you say, and it better be true. The psalmist wrote that, I swear to my own hurt, if I say something and I realize, oh man, I shouldn't have said that, and I promise somebody something that's really hard and it's going to take everything I own to do it, they're going to lose everything they own to keep their word because it's that important. I remember in Judges, man, I can't remember the guy's name. One of the guys God used to deliver Israel. He said, God, if you give me victory over this military battle we're going into, I'll sacrifice the first thing that comes out to greet me when I get home. He had victory and his only daughter walked out the front door when he got home. And he sacrificed his daughter to God because he said, I'll sacrifice anything. People throw lies around like it's nothing today. And there's going to be a lot of people in hell that said, I had no idea. And a lie don't necessarily have to be you on purpose telling somebody. I annoy the mess out of people looking up things when I don't know it to be truth. I annoy my own family. I annoy people I know. But if you accidentally lying, you're still lying. It's still a lie. It's still just as destructive. I want to know the truth about anything I'm talking about, and I don't want to give misinformation. And maybe it's in me more that I'll risk annoying people because in James he says, don't ask that many of you become teachers. Because you're going to be held to a higher standard. If hell's the standard that the prize you get for being a liar, well, what's the higher standard? You don't accidentally teach the wrong thing from the pulpit. You don't need to do that. You don't need to let untruth be in you anywhere. I mean, if there's an accident, there's an accident, and you catch it, Lord, please forgive me, I didn't do it, you know my heart. But Hosea 4:6 says, my people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. You rejected knowledge, and I reject you from being my priest. You forget about me, I forget about your children. This God that dearly loves us, He's a just, righteous God. He says He will not be made a fool of. You'll reap what you sow. And this world has a lot of scary things going on for people's salvation. All these clickbaiters, man, they just have no clue. And a bunch of them Christian stuff, supposed to be. Stuff about God. They even do it on air. They have no idea what they're doing. The lake of fire is no joke. When you hang around with God, when you get in His Word and you spend time with Him in prayer, those things will come up and you will not want to do them because you're hanging around with Him and you're becoming more like Him. It says He changes us into His image from glory to glory. It says that we're supposed to be molded into His image. We're supposed to be transformed by the renewing of our mind. We're supposed to seek Him with all our heart, mind, soul, and strength. We're supposed to love Him with our heart, mind, soul, and strength. We're supposed to love our neighbors as ourselves. Now, we're supposed to be loved, so, if you're not loved, you can't love. If you think you're worthless, you're going to treat people like they're worthless, or you're going to treat them bad. If you think you're bad, you're going to treat people bad. If you love yourself and you love God, you're going to love people, and there's not going to be an issue of, man, it's 1 minute they hate me, 1 minute they love me. It's not going to be that way. But we have to be loved ourselves. That's why I'm talking about being beloved. Get this straight and spend time with Him, and that other stuff gets fixed. Americans struggle to read the Bible in a year. You want to see them really struggle? Put them on a 6-month program. Well, I heard another thing that, oh Lord, I was thinking Jackie Chan. Francis Chan said, that really struck me. He said, yeah, I know a small group that had their little home church, and they read the Bible in 3 days. They stayed awake 24 hours a day, and it took 70 hours, which is actually short of 3 days, to read out loud the whole entire Bible. When somebody got tired, they might take a nap, and somebody else pull up and start reading. It only took 3 days. We have a hard time reading it in a year. Folks do. They have a hard time reading it in a year. That ought to be a little perspective there. That was a hungry church. That was a church that was actually more like the original church, probably, right? They may not have had the written word the same way we do, but they were talking about it constantly. They were staying up. I don't know anybody that's fell out a window and died, in church, since I've been alive. For somebody preaching too long. I fell asleep, but I wasn't sitting in the window.
I don't know if people fell asleep too.
But, he preached, and this dude fell out the window. He went out there and prayed over him and said, this life's still in him. And he went and preached till daylight. He didn't even stop when the dude died. People get tired and go home now. This dude died and they kept preaching, right? We need to... And Jeremiah says, man, you find God when you seek Him with all your heart. In Hebrews 11:6, it says, without faith it's impossible to please Him. And you have to believe that He is, and that He's a rewarder of those who diligently seek Him. He tells Abraham who the reward is, or what the reward is, and it's Him. And people walk around in ignorance in the godly things. It says, don't be ignorant in these things, be ignorant in evil things. It says be harmless as doves. It says you don't need to know all the bad stuff. Know the good stuff. I'm amazed that, I mean, I didn't even realize you could read the Bible in 70 hours of reading. I mean, if you just did it like you worked a job, it'd be less than 2 weeks. You know? Getting in the Word changes us, and walking in love with people on purpose. Those two things change you a lot. You know, I got aggravated the other day. That's my number one aggravator, probably, is people driving. You know, a red light changes, somebody's playing on their phone, they creep through, and you're the second person or third person at a red light, and the light turns red on you.
Yeah.
I'm like, it's so unnecessary and just so, if I did that to somebody, I would think, man, I was being such a jerk to make them sit through a line. That is such a jerk thing for me to, but it's just as bad for me to be aggravated at them for doing it, because it ain't about me. Love keeps no record of the wrong done to it. It pays no attention to it. It bears long. It's long suffering. It believes all things. It bears all things. It never obeys rudely. And so I'm convicted over that, but I'm like, man, this world has all this stuff going on. And I mentioned Revelation, and it's 21 verse 8, where it talks about all liars will be in the lake of fire. A liar, it's to deceive through something untrue. Speaking an untruth is one definition. And untrue, or that is incorrect. It says if you're speaking stuff that's incorrect, by biblical definition, that's a lie. If you're speaking it as gospel, or you're speaking it as, it's considered a lie. So, especially when you're talking about the Lord, the main place I see that being a big problem was Old Testament prophets saying, "Thus saith the Lord," and it being something that ain't true. We're commanded to get in the Word of God. Old Testament, New Testament, it begs us to, commands us to, tells us the best thing for us to. It don't command you to understand everything you read. It don't command you to retain everything you read. It just commands you to get in there. And of course, my people were destroyed for lack of knowledge, right? That's in Hosea 4:6. And then let me read in Jeremiah chapter 14. Jeremiah 14, about verse 11. And this is the Lord talking to Jeremiah here. He says, "Then the Lord said to me, do not pray for this people, for their good. When they fast, I will not hear their cry. And when they offer burnt offering and grain offering, I will not accept them. But I will consume them by the sword, by the famine, and by the pestilence." Then I said, "Ah, Lord God, behold, the prophets say to them, you shall not see the sword, nor shall you have famine. But I will give you assured peace in this place." And the Lord said to me, "The prophets prophesy lies in my name. I have not sent them, commanded them, nor spoken to them. They prophesy you a false vision, divination, a worthless thing, and the deceit of their heart." So those prophets aren't seeking the Lord like they were supposed to be. How'd I know that? Jeremiah. And the Jeremiah is where it says, "Seek me with all your heart and you'll find me." So Jeremiah is hearing from the Lord, straight on from the Lord, that all these other prophets are lying. Then it says, "Therefore, thus says the Lord concerning the prophets who prophesy in my name, whom I did not send, and who say, sword and famine shall not be in this land. By sword and famine those prophets shall be consumed. It tells us even in the New Testament, Paul says, turn such a one over to Satan for the destruction of their body. Somebody that's doing things they shouldn't be doing. And turn them over to Satan for destruction of their body so their souls will be saved. And so these prophets are lying to the people. And there's a big price to pay. It's, well, those prophets are going to die the way that I said the people are going to die. This world where it's just okay to just tell something that's untrue and it just don't seem to matter, there's a price. And it's coming. I've never heard of anybody say anything about clickbait. But it's everywhere. And it ain't true. And it is a lie. And it's going to be judged. It really is. When you're writing something down saying this is what it is, and you get them to go in there and it's not that, that's a lie. It just really is. When that's probably your mildest form of it, but it's still a lie just the same. And I'm not going to sit here and not say anything about it and let people do it and think it's okay. They're at least going to hear the truth from me if they hear this, and it's not going to be on me. Not only that, but it's annoying. It's annoying. But that's not why I'm saying this. I'm saying that because it's true. It's lies. If you deceive somebody through an untruth, that's a lie. They're going, hey, this and this. And you never see any of that in there. It's just totally not even that. Like, oh, okay. So the moral of the story is, be loved. Seek the Lord. Don't be corrupted by this world. It says if we walk by the flesh, we're going to reap corruption. And people are being corrupted by the billions. I'll stop here.